so that everyone knows who is who. Dr. Lalit Kapoor, a very well-known figure in Mumbai medical circles and across the country, a surgeon by profession who has dedicated a lot of his time and effort towards the medical profession and the upliftment of the doctors. He's been a tireless crusader for justice to medical professionals and is always available to guide doctors about various medical legal issues. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Dr. Rajiv Nanda, who is a practicing advocate in the Supreme Court of India since the past 30 years. He has been on various government panels in a number of landmark cases. He has been and is a standing counsel for various governments in the Supreme Court. He has helped us and has been helping us in various cases against various medical councils and other professional bodies where it has been felt that injustice has been done against medical professionals. Welcome, Dr. Nanda.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Hello.
Dr. Anvesh, who is an activist and state president of the Telangana Doctors Federation and Forum of Medical Unions, very active at the grassroots level in the fight for justice and facilities for resident doctors in the state of Telangana, apart from doing humanitarian work like providing supplies to the weaker sections, PPE, etc., to policemen during this pandemic. Thank you, Dr. Anvesh, for joining us today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Hi, sir.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Dr. Vijendra, who is the convener of the Telangana Doctors Federation and an activist also for the rights of doctors. Welcome, Dr. Vijendra. And Dr. Amrender, who is the ex-president of the AIMS Resident Doctors Association, has agreed to elaborate on a few things. And thank you, Dr. Amrender, and welcome today. We'll begin now. I'm going to mute everyone. I will request the participants to unmute as per requirement. As healthcare workers, we have all experienced violence at some time during our profession from patients. This, as I would say, other than the COVID-19 pandemic, violence towards medical professionals has also become a pandemic in this country, especially in the last 20 to 30 years. The requests of healthcare professionals for a central act to prevent violence against healthcare workers has gone unheeded. Now, during the COVID pandemic, the government has seen fit to bring out an ordinance which amends the Epidemic Diseases Act and provides a central law to punish violence against healthcare workers. This is apart from the various ordinances and acts which are there in various states, but which are implemented poorly. As we have seen earlier, rather than lack of laws, it is usually the lack of will to implement these laws, which is at the root of problem of violence against healthcare workers. Our first topic of the panel discussion today is to discuss the effects of the Epidemic Diseases Amendment Ordinance 2020 and how it impacts healthcare workers. The second topic is about the recently issued teleconsultation guidelines issued by the Medical Council of India, which enables an RMP to provide teleconsultation by phone, text, or video to a patient. The pros and cons of the teleconsultation practice guidelines shall also be discussed by our panelists. My first question is to Dr. Lalit Kapoor. So what was the need to pass this ordinance and why was it passed? So you need to unmute yourself. Okay.
Mute. All right. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, there were several reports from many parts of the country that there are a lot of incidents of violence against doctors in several hospitals in many parts of the country. And of course, this is nothing new. This has been happening all the time. But particularly in the time of this pandemic, this was something that would have aggravated, escalated matters. And quite rightly, the government was worried that this could come in the way of proper control of the pandemic. And that is why, in a hurry, very hurriedly, this ordinance was passed to amend the Epidemic Diseases Act 1897. And I think it's a good ordinance in the sense that it covers a lot of things which would, in fact, have a good effect on the people who would like to do violence against hospitals or against doctors. So it's welcome, and I think that the main stimulus was this pandemic situation.
Right, sir. Okay. My next question is to Dr. Rajiv Nanda. Sir, why an ordinance and why not a new oblique amended act when we have been asking for a central act which was actually passed by the health ministry last year but was struck down by the home ministry? So could you elaborate why did it not go for an act or a central ordinance?
Yeah, I'll tell you. See, this don't judge it by the name ordinance. This is as good as a law. Since Parliament is not in session, please understand a law. Our legislature is Parliament. Central legislature is Parliament. Parliament is not in session. So since there was an urgent need for bringing this kind of legislation, which could deal with the situation of doctors and the other paramedics and the other health service providers to get safety. So this emergent situation was met by bringing an ordinance. This is as good as a law. The moment Parliament will be in session, this will be put before the Parliament and this will be deemed to be passed immediately. So there is no difference between amendment and the ordinance and normal law. This is as good as a law.
Okay.
Yeah. Hello.
Yes,
Can I
sir.
say something?
Sure.
You know, this is an amendment to the Epidemic Diseases Act, and I'm not sure whether it will survive the as long as the act is there. Probably this would work, but as soon as the pandemic is over and the this ordinance or whatever has been passed would not be applicable then. So that is the difference between them passing a law. So we may be happy that they have passed, but it's not forever. It's just amending the Epidemic Diseases Act. And no sooner they lift the Epidemic Diseases Act at that particular point of time, I don't think it will be applicable. So that is why we need something more.
Dr. Nanda, what do you have to say to that?
See, I understand and appreciate the concerns of Dr. Kapoor. This, he's right, will not be there forever in the present form, since it is an ordinance. As I said, since the Parliament is not in session, this will be tabled before the Parliament, and I understand in the Parliament, in its wisdom, is going to approve it. This has a shelf life of 6 months.
Yes.
True.
If it is not extended, if the Parliament is not convened in 6 months, the government will have to again promulgate this ordinance once again till the Parliament is brought to session. If the Parliament is brought to session, I have to tell to all of you that this will be tabled immediately, because this is an ordinance. An ordinance gets priority over other bills which are to be tabled. All the ordinances, once brought in the interregnum when the Parliament was in recess, have to be brought before the Parliament at the first instance. So the moment Parliament is in session, whichever session after the pandemic is over, or during, if they feel like holding the session with safety measures, they can. But I have to tell you that this is as good as a law. We should not say that this is not having the trappings of law.
Okay, that I understand that, but like Dr. Kapoor said, that our worry as medical professionals is that this ordinance would lapse after the Epidemic Diseases Act is withdrawn. Am I correct, Dr. Kapoor?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Even
So,
if Parliament passes,
yeah,
it would have only amended the act. So whenever next time this act is invoked,
yeah,
only then this will be part of the act.
our worry is there as medical professionals, because we've been facing so much violence, physical, mental harassment from patients and others, that we have been clamoring literally for a central law which would
I understand, Dr. Kakkad. I appreciate, and I am not a brief holder for the central government
no.
say it.
Right.
What I am saying is that yes, a central act is required, and Dr. Kapoor is right. This is merely an amendment to the Epidemic Disease Act 1897.
Correct.
This is not a new legislation which will be there forever in all circumstances, even if when the epidemic is over.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So for that, we will have to really make a pressure group and ask the government to make it in the form of a general law also.
Right.
That's right. That's
Right.
right. That's the point. Actually.
Okay. My
Yeah, of
next.
course, yes.
Okay. My next question is to Dr. Amrinder. Dr. Amrinder, we believe there is, when we had some talk, we believe there was something called the Odisha form or the Odisha model of prevention of violence against healthcare workers. Could you elaborate on that, please? Hello. Hello.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Please
Sir,
continue.
first of all, I will let you know that why, my first question is, why we are waiting for so long that corona pandemic will come and then we will pass an ordinance? Why, when we have made a center production bill in last year in the health ministry, when I am a member of that panel who have made a center production bill last year. It was started
Excuse me,
in
Dr.
August.
Amrinder, I'll have to interrupt. Your audio is very cracked. We are not able to make out what you're saying.
Actually, even same thing is there.
Yeah,
It's not clear.
yeah, because I'm able to hear everyone else clearly, but you are coming very cracked. Maybe you need.
You can ask question to someone else.
I'll ask
clear
that.
this.
I'll ask that. Sure. Yeah. My next question is to Dr. Anvesh of the Telangana Doctors Federation. Dr. Anvesh, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want to know what are the problems being faced by the resident doctors in Telangana, whether this particular ordinance will be useful to you.
This actually, since we are watching the resident issues and other doctor issues as medical officers, not only in Telangana, sir, in our entire country, all resident doctors are facing so many problems. Now we have to focus on two issues, as the violence against the doctor in resident doctors are the front line. So usually they are the main victims, and they are injuring very severely in every time. So as I found one case in as Epidemic Act 1987, as per the derivatives of Supreme Court judgment dated in 87, sir, I will read one thing that all medical institutions and universities are required to amend their rules and regulations introduced the Uniform Residency Scheme by
Give me a minute.
1993, sir.
Just give me a minute. Yeah, now continue.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to explain one small situation that we faced. So as in the amendment law in 1985 Act, as we have one case that as per the directive of Honorable Supreme Court in its judgment dated on 25/9/87, as in written petition, we saw that 1985 and the petition number is 348 and 352, sir. So at the time that all state governments, medical institutions and universities are required to amend their rules and regulation to introduce a uniform residency scheme by 1993, they said. In this correction, as informing of in Ministry of Health, Family Welfare, Government of India has sent directive to all state administration. So, and the dated of June 1992, unfortunately, many states in India refused to obey orders till dates. In the allowed hours of shift, especially allowed hours of shift, the stretch is maximum 12 hours. That presently all resident doctors and junior doctors, other doctors are working more than 24 hours. And in not only emergency department and clinical department, some non-clinical also they are doing that. Even like we are seeing that even microbiology departments, and also there still now their lack of residents as well as who are there in particular department, and few members, they are facing lot of problems with more work.
Okay,
So
Dr.
there's
Anvesh,
averagely, sir.
I understand.
Averagely, they are in the departments, they're weekly 65 to 80 hours they are
No,
working.
I agree, but that has nothing to do with this ordinance. We are talking violence right now.
Yes, sir. I'll come, sir. I'll come.
Yeah,
There's residents issues even, especially. See,
Okay.
I'll come to there only.
Hmm.
So in flexibility of law, his constitution should be only use special measures.
Hmm.
So at the time when the ordinance should continue and not in a particular situation, sir. See, this is the problem even when ordinance is clearly they mentioned and they until COVID situation, they are going to continue as per the governing body authority. They will
Right.
take the decision later to continue this ordinance or not, we don't know.
Right.
But they are not given particular clearance on that. So my appeal is even they should continue this act after the COVID also.
Right.
Yes, sir.
My next question to Dr. Kapoor. So, what acts of violence does this ordinance cover? What acts of violence? What establishments?
Before that, can I just say one thing?
Sure.
In fact, as a matter of fact, uh, my opinion is that this ordinance was not required. It was not required. And the reason is that at the moment in the country, government has invoked Epidemic Diseases Act 1897, Disaster Management Act 2005,
Yes.
and there are the other penal provisions, of course.
Right.
Now, the government is in fact sufficiently armed. They have sufficient powers to deal even in these two acts. They are actually acts which have given very wide powers to the government, very wide powers.
Right.
And suppose anybody were to do some violent attack on a hospital or a doctor, what prevents the government from saying that you are obstructing in the management of the pandemic? And this is a serious crime, straight away they can imprison the person. So in fact, really, they have enough powers. And possibly, I'm not sure, one reason why this ordinance was passed hurriedly, perhaps the Indian Medical Association had threatened with some agitation if nothing was done about this. And to placate them, this ordinance was passed. But
Right.
be that as it may, your question about what is the violence that it covers. In fact, the acts of violence which it includes is harassment, which prevents a doctor from discharging his duties, harm, injury, hurt, or intimidation or danger to the life of the healthcare personnel at work or otherwise. The doctor may be in his house, and if he does that, that is also obstruction or hindrance in the discharge of his duties at work or otherwise, and loss of damage to any property in custody of or belonging to the doctor or to the hospital. So to that extent, it's quite comprehensive. It covers, the best part is it covers even just intimidation, which means there may be no actual violence. He has not hit anybody. He is just threatened. Even that itself becomes offense under this ordinance.
If I get it correctly, and just for the clarity to all the participants, this basically means that any doctor, whether he is working or whether he is in the house or outside his workplace, any form of intimidation, even mental harassment, apart from physical violence, will be covered under this ordinance. Do I get it correctly?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So, okay. And so basically means then, apart from the hospitals, the medical personnel outside their places of work are also covered under the act.
Yeah.
So, right. Dr. Nanda,
Yes.
the scope of this new law compared to the original Epidemic Diseases Act and the Disaster Management Act, is this more, is the scope of this increased?
Yes, this is the see. If we go by the phraseology used in the act, I see that this is quite an elaborate one. The earlier act was only for disobedience of the governmental authorities who were discharging their functions under the Epidemic Disease Act 1897. But now this is not only taking in its sweep the governmental authorities who are discharging their functions under the Epidemic Act or the Disaster Management Act, but is also taking care of doctors, nurses, paramedic workers, and it is not merely a disobedience which was there in the earlier act or the parent act, if I may call it. The amendment takes into the sweep, as Dr. Kapoor has pointed out, the acts of violence, the harassment, everything, not merely disobedience, the harassment, the obstruction, loss of damage, everything. So this has a very large sweep, a very large scope if we go by it. And this not only takes into consideration uh, any obstruction caused. See, we had in this epidemic scene, I would not like to name, but all of us know that there was certain class of people who were harassing. It was only a harassment, that they were getting nude, they were taking off their clothes. And for that, the Epidemic Act 1897 would have not been good enough to prevent the nurses, the female nurses, the doctors for that matter, and they were stone pelting to the healthcare providers. They were not governmental authorities, they were paramedics. So
Okay.
all that, the present form shows to be very good. I hope this is continued, and we all can, of course, lobby for making it in a law, in the form of a law, final, complete law forever.
Right. So I think that makes the whole act a very, it increases the scope of the Epidemic Diseases Act and the DMA, and gives us the doctors or the healthcare workers, it gives them a comprehensive safety shield, so to speak.
I also tell you one thing more. Here, in the earlier act, if a complaint was lodged, it was only a complaint like an ordinary complaint.
Right.
Now, this complaint, a very good thing. I mean, I must appreciate, even if it is for a short-living thing, but this is something very good at the moment. It is a non-bailable complaint. Like if it is lodged against X, Y, and Z, they will have to be arrested. The police officer, the SHO, or the in charge of the police station will have no discretion of not investigating it. Rather, this amendment or the ordinance brings an obligation on the investigating officer to complete the investigation. It mandates to complete the investigation within 30 days. And as I said, non-bailable. It is a cognizable offense. They don't have, the police authorities don't have the discretion of saying no for the inquiry. They will have to do it. And once the investigation is scheduled, completed in 30 days, then the trial, the amendment says, has to be finished within 1 year. What more do we want? We want only this. If this can be brought in for in a regular law also, I mean, we will certainly be very happy. I'll be the happiest person because the medical fraternity will be saved by this.
Right.
And currently, yes, this umbrella is a very large umbrella till the time, and we all know that this epidemic is not going to get over. We are going to live with this for, I think, coming 2 years at least. So at least for 2 years, we are safe. But what we are after that, for that, of course, we'll have to lobby.
Right. Dr. Amrinder, are you back online?
I'm using my mobile right now. Can I?
Okay.
I'm audible.
Yeah, you are audible. Now, if you'll...
Its voice is clear.
Yeah, voice is clear. Will you tell us what
So
is
my
the...
question. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. First
I-
of all,
first-
sir, very nice interaction right now going on
Right.
regarding this Center Protection Act, and I must thanks to the government that they have passed the ordinance in this pandemic. But the thing is, why we are waiting for the pandemic to occur and then we will pass this ordinance? Why not beforehand, when we are demanding that there is zero conviction rate in respect to cases? Why we came so late? When the government needs the doctor right now, and is it they know that they are in crunch situation right now, and now they are passing this thing. And one more thing, it is why it is only limited till the pandemic, or till the pandemic, and why it's not after that. They should have made it clear. They should have made it clear on the first day only. It will be continuing till.
Dr. Amrinder, if you see, Dr. Nanda has already responded to these queries in the sense that he's saying it is for now because Parliament is not in session. Yes, we have been asking for a central law, which we have not got. My once we finish the panel discussion, maybe we can make a brief of whatever ideas are thrown up here and forward them to the powers that be, that this is what we want. My question to you right now is, you had spoken to me about the Odisha model. I would like you to enlighten the
Yeah,
participants. What
I
is
will
the
come back
Odisha
to.
model?
Yeah.
That is what I would like from
Yes,
you right now.
I will come back to.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I will elaborate about the
Odisha model.
Odisha model. It is
Yes.
it is passed 1 month back, exactly 1 month back by CM Naveen Patnaik ji.
Okay.
It has got 5 dimensions. First is 50 lakh compensation for health personnel losing life in duty, private and government. Is it given by this ordinance? No. Second, health personnel losing life will be treated like martyrs and will be given state funeral and honors. Is it given by this ordinance? No. Third, awards for them on National Day. Again, not given by ordinance. Fourth, full salary to the family. This is very important line. Full salary to the family till the date of retirement. That is most important thing for a health professional right now. If they're doing a duty for the COVID patients, if any mishappening,
Hello.
family, for their parents, for their children, but this is the most important.
Hello. Dr. Amrinder, we can't hear you. Hello.
Doctors.
Dr. Amrinder, we couldn't hear you the last 30 seconds. Could you repeat what you said?
Oh, you are audible. I'm audible right now.
Yeah, now you are.
So you have listened till awards.
Full salary.
Yeah, full salary to the family till the date of retirement.
No, we've heard that. The next point.
Next point is imposing National Security Act for those attacking the doctors. That is the most important thing. The National Security Act, which is, if you give me some time, I will highlight that point also.
Okay.
Can I highlight?
Okay, we'll give you 1 more minute. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir. The National Security Act is passed in 27th of December 1980 in the region of Indira Gandhi, right? And at that time, there is the central government or the state government may, if satisfied, respect to any person that with a to the defense of India, the relations of India with foreign powers or the security of India. So they can impose the detention order may be executed any place in India in the manner provided for the execution of warrants of arrest under the Code of Criminal Procedure 1973. They can be detained without any, if any harm or anything occurs to the doctors, they can be detained within no time. And non-available, it is non-available also. So these are the main points for the National Security Act, which is covered by the Odisha model.
Okay, I think we'll definitely look into this, the Odisha model which you're speaking about. My question to you, Dr. Nanda, is
Yes.
What are your thoughts on these 5 points which Dr. Amrinder has raised? Especially the full salary till retirement, the NSA and all. What is your take on that?
See, this all is all very good. But point is this the occasion to demand at the moment? We've been always demanding it.
Okay. So in your viewpoint, this is not the correct time to ask for these things to be done. Hello?
Or any other form. We are all required to perform our duties. Yes, we must put it to the government and say that this is what the Odisha model is. And it will be appropriate if you follow this. And I, personally speaking for myself, I would say that let us not at the moment make demands. Only let us make submission to the government and say that, yes, if you can consider it, it is good. but not as a demand.
Okay.
That if you don't do it, not as a quid pro quo.
Right.
Certainly not. I mean, I would appreciate in case the government agrees to what my learned other speaker has just said. I mean,
Right.
if salary and all that for life, who will object? I'll be the first person to welcome it.
Right.
If the central government, but is this the hour when the central government can do it or can't do it? I'm not in a position to say. It
Right.
is for the government to take the call, keeping in view the means.
Okay. Dr. Kapoor, sir,
Yeah,
question
yeah.
to you.
Can I say something? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think what is happening here, two issues have got mixed up. There are two separate issues.
Correct.
One issue is violence against doctors, irrespective of COVID, no COVID. Now,
Yeah.
in the COVID period, you have got protection. Fair enough. We are happy about that. There's nothing to argue on that. But what happens after this pandemic? That is number one. Secondly, the second issue which we are mixing up is COVID. If a doctor gets the disease, what happens to him? What happens to his family? Which in fact is nothing to do in the ordinance. Also, they have not mentioned any such thing. So that's a separate issue, really. But the
Right.
point I would like to make is that we are all forgetting. We are talking so much that Mr. Nanda said that is ordinance mein to so many good things are there, fast track is there, this is there, that's all fine. But one thing which we are all forgetting is that already in 19 states in India, already there is there are laws of for violence against doctors, and they are pretty good laws. Let me tell you that which are already existing. That is the problem with doctors, that we are looking for new laws, new things which take time. What about the laws which are already there? You are not implementing. Why aren't we shouting to the devil is in the non-implementation?
Correct.
All right, we should be doing that. Now, if you see, I'm in Maharashtra. The Maharashtra Medicare Act, which protects doctors against violence. You please read it. Exactly the same things are there. What is it? There's nothing new except this fast track thing in the ordinance. This new, we are thinking it's a great thing. Only the new thing is about the fast track. Yes, I agree. They say within 1 year, inspector has to do his investigation within 1 month and all that. But other than that, same provisions, excellent provisions are there. For example, in the Maharashtra Medicare Act, it is not being implemented. So I think it's easier for doctors associations to fight for implementation than for running after a new law, which may take years and years together. It needs a lot of lobbying, politics, you know how things work here.
Yes.
So why aren't we doing that? This ordinance, what it protects the doctors is on few things are better. In fact, those can be incorporated after this pandemic is over in the current acts which are already there. Karnataka has a wonderful act. Maharashtra has an act. Andhra was the first state which brought out this act. And that is what we need to keep in mind. That same provisions which we are finding so good in this ordinance are already there. They are law. That is not something temporary. They are permanent act. So I think we need to keep that in mind.
So just one question. As far as you are right, like I said in the beginning only, and you have reiterated that the problem is in the implementation, and many states, 19 states already have a law similar to this, which is not being implemented. But going as only by the ordinance, am I correct in understanding that this ordinance covers only those healthcare workers who are currently involved in treatment of COVID-19 patients, or does it cover all healthcare workers? I would like this answered from both Dr. Kapoor and Dr. Nanda. Dr. Kapoor first.
No, there is no exclusion if you go through the ordinance, nowhere it says that only for pandemic treatment or only for that. It's a generic thing that if you obstruct the work of a doctor or of a nurse or of a healthcare, any healthcare personnel, then this is the punishment you will get: imprisonment, fine, and so on and so forth. So there is no mention. It would be wrong to say that it's only if you are treating a COVID patient this will act. That's not true. But what is true is, no sooner they lift this act, lift the Epidemic Act, then we are back to square one.
Dr. Nanda?
I would, with all respects to Dr. Kapoor, I would, perhaps it has escaped his attention. This says that after section 1 of the Principal Act, the following section shall be inserted. I'll read it. The act of violence includes any of the following acts committed by any person against a healthcare service personnel. This is, please, serving during an epidemic.
Okay.
So, to my understanding, though, yes, it doesn't say, see, serving during an epidemic doesn't say that he has to be in relation to epidemic only.
Absolutely, absolutely. So
It
it's
could
not
be-
for,
Yeah,
it's not for epidemic.
Right.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But
Yeah.
it could be, see, when it comes to the interpretation, there are many masters of interpretation who would interpret it in a restricted way, or
Right.
would interpret it in a very elaborate way, in a relief giving way. But then this is what it says, that any person against health service personnel serving during an epidemic. Now, service could be that he is dealing with ordinary disease of a patient, not with corona.
No. So does this mean that it covers only, like, if the private medical establishments are not treating?
Yes, yes. To my understanding, yes. The only caveat would be that it should not be idle doctor sitting at home and saying that I am sitting at home and I have been attacked.
Okay.
No, he
All
or
right.
she or the healthcare worker or the nurse must be an active practitioner serving during the epidemic. Maybe to the corona patient, or may not be to the corona patient, to a non-COVID patient also.
Right.
But
Correct,
the person should be serving person.
Right.
Correct.
One question now to Dr. Vijendra. Dr. Vijendra, can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm
Yeah.
able to. hear you.
Yeah, Dr. Vijendra, the question I want from you is: are resident doctors facing problems of violence currently, or has this ordinance been deterrent enough to prevent incidents of violence, especially in the government hospitals, because that's where the maximal load of the corona patients or the patients is right now, because private healthcare establishments, many of them are either shut down or they have reduced their workload. So are the resident doctors facing acts of violence, or have the acts of violence reduced in the current times after the ordinance came?
So basically, we have seen, sir, after the passing the ordinance, also we have seen the cases in Telangana. We have designated center for the COVID treatment, that is Gandhi Medical College. We have seen a attack on the doctor at the Gandhi Medical College, as well as we have the other case in the Usmania Medical College also, where the patient attender has beaten one PG here. So I don't think it has reduced. So still we are not, still the cases are not coming to our notice, but it's prevalent, I think. And other thing which I want to bring to the panel here is that I don't think the common people don't know about the acts. Actually, this is the problem, that they don't know whether we beat any healthcare workers, we will be punished. So this is the problem. They don't know that these acts will affect us. So what I suggest is acts are good. Okay, acts we want the strict acts. So apart from this, what I want is implementation. See, I have seen, I have been president for the Telangana Junior Doctors Association since 2017 to 19. We have the one of the strongest law for the healthcare workers. That is Act 11 of 2008. We have, but I have seen only 2 or 3 cases were booked on this Act 11 of 2008, and that too, that 3 cases were also been not investigated. Those cases are not investigated, and those cases were compromised, and that is not help the doctors anymore. So what from the this is from our perspective, and from the people perspective, I want to add one more thing here. See, we have to work on this root causes of the violence also. See, we are asking for the solution of the act, that is well and good, but we have to work why these attacks are being done again and again. Root causes has to be explored. So this is what I want to say.
Right. Right. So from your perspective, the acts of violence have not reduced, basically because people are unaware that such an ordinance exists. Am I correct
Yes,
when I
yes.
say this?
Because what I want to point here is whenever these acts are there, whenever there is an act of violence, they should punish that assaulter, that violencer. They should put a case on him, and they should publish in the media also. They should know, release a press release so that other people get to know. So if we do any attack on the people, others will get punished.
No. Now, one question to you that after the passing of this ordinance, and according to what you told me, 2 or 3 attacks have happened in Gandhi Medical College and Osmania. Have the police booked these people under this ordinance or no?
So
Are you aware of it, or it's all
actually,
right if you're not?
yeah, I'm not aware
No,
of it.
no problem. Sir, question to Dr. Kapoor, sir.
Yeah.
As we are seeing, sir, there is basically the problem we are facing is implementation, whether it is the state acts, whether it is the ordinance, like Dr. Vijender also said, that people are not aware of the ordinance. So maybe our take would be that we should publicize these ordinances or these acts more vigorously, especially in the media, so that people get aware. Am I right in saying that?
No, you are not right.
Okay.
You are not right.
Tell me.
It's not the people who have to be aware.
Okay.
Ignorance of law is no excuse.
Okay.
Am I right?
Right.
Just because I don't know there is a law, it doesn't mean I won't be punished.
Mm-hmm.
But the government is aware, the police is aware, then what is the problem? So if Dr. Vijender is saying that in spite of violence happening in this COVID period or pandemic period, still they are not punished, then that is a very serious matter. It means then what is going to help? Even the government cannot implement this ordinance. Are we saying that? But I think Vijender is not sure. He doesn't know whether they were punished. I'm sure they must have been sent to jail or punished or prosecuted. How can it be? This is something ridiculous. You pass a law and you say because the people don't know the law, because the press doesn't know the law, media doesn't know law. I think that's not fair. That's not acceptable.
Okay.
At least the government knows there's a law. The police knows there's a law. What's the problem?
Right. Right. So, Dr. Vijender, I hope that answers the question that basically we have to ensure that the police does its work.
So,
and then if they are not doing anything, we have to publicize that they are not doing what they're supposed to do.
Sir, not publicize. You can prosecute them. If the police doesn't do, you can prosecute them. Why publicize?
Right.
So basically the cases, the assaulters were also COVID patients. So they said that we kept them in the quarantine. We don't know whether they were booked or not.
Okay.
There was not a press. There was no press release by the government.
Oh, okay. I think Dr. Anvesh wants to say something. Yes, Dr. Anvesh. Dr. Anvesh, you wanted?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, tell me.
So, thank you, Kapoor sir. Even you explained few things about that police is not going to consider few matters as what doctors are facing. They are the front line to protect even all. They should protect, especially that in the frontline doctors. Even they are the only security for us. So, I want to give few points on the role of police. That one of the most important institution responsibilities, usually that law into their hands, the police department, even presence of strength and law won't deter the criminals in the police. Doesn't apply this strain to section against the accused. It is the primary responsibility of police to maintain law and order to provide the security to anyone who is at risk, including healthcare workers. So, by doing as a police well instrumental in the preventing violence and damaging the hospital property, so violence against healthcare is a global phenomenon now. So even police is the major role. Even they should not seek for the other law and other advocates and courts to give some ordinance to or some act to punish the accused people. So then as well as they has to implement at the time, even they should not prolong the case within 6 months itself.
I agree, Dr. Anvesh, but the problem is, which which is being faced again and again, is that the police itself is not implementing it. So now if,
Yes.
like Dr. Kapoor said, we need to go to the next step, that we need to prosecute the police if required, and not leave it at that, that the doctors have been, or the healthcare workers have been beaten up, and after that the police is not doing what it is supposed to do. In that case, the police also needs to be prosecuted.
Yes, sir.
Right. Next question, sir. We'll wrap up this discussion on the ordinance. Basically, if you could enlighten us on the prescribed punishments and various penalties under this ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. See, actually, as Dr. Nanda said, A, it's a cognizable offense. B, it is non-bailable. Then it attracts imprisonment and it attracts fine. Also, the loss of 50,000 fine, loss of property has to be made good by paying twice the market value of whatever has been damaged as per the court's assessment of that thing. Now, one interesting thing about this act, about the punishment, is whereas the state acts or the other acts so far, none of them have done that. This act has, ordinance gives this provision. They have divided the violence or the attack on an institution into two. What are the two? One is if they cause simple hurt, and second is if they cause grievous hurt, which means, for example, some group of people go and just slap a doctor, insult him, humiliate him, push him, but he doesn't get a grievous hurt. Now, what is grievous hurt? Grievous hurt means loss of hearing, loss of one hearing in 1 ear, loss of eyesight in one eye, or a fracture, or a dislocation, or a loss of tooth, or emasculation, what they call, or being disabled for 21 days. That means suppose you got admitted, you have to get admitted in hospital for 21 days. Then this is all comes under grievous hurt. So the good thing they have done here, that if it's a simple hurt, suppose they've just pushed you, slapped you, insulted you and all that, but none of these have happened, no fracture, no dislocation, no tooth broken, then it's a simple hurt. So there's a punishment for that also, that is less than the punishment for the grievous hurt. For the simple hurt, it is 1 month imprisonment, whereas for the grievous hurt, it is 6 month imprisonment, and fine also is much more as far as the simple hurt part is concerned. It is, I think, I have the figures here. Yes, 50,000 to 2 lakhs for the simple hurt, 50,000 to up to 2 lakhs, and otherwise it is 1 lakh to 5 lakhs in the section 3(3), where this grievous hurt part comes, 7 years imprisonment, whereas in the 3(2), which is the simple hurt, it's not less than 3 months, but up to 5 years imprisonment. So this is for the first time they have done that. Also, normally the good thing about this is, which different from the current laws, violence laws, is that normally in a criminal case, the person is deemed to be innocent until proved guilty. We all know that. You are innocent until you are proved guilty. That means the prosecution has to prove that you are guilty. Here, what they have done, very interesting, they have said you are guilty unless you are proved innocent.
Right.
That means onus is on you. You prove you are innocent. I don't have to prove you are guilty.
Yeah,
The assumption is that you are guilty.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
an important point.
This is there in the act.
Right. Just before we wrap up this particular topic, Dr. Sunil Khatri from Delhi has asked to speak. Dr. Khatri, please go on. Can you hear me, Dr. Khatri?
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
hear
tell
you.
me. Tell me.
Yeah.
You wanted to
Well,
put a point across.
I wish to add a bit more to what Dr. Kapoor has mentioned, that that the existing laws are sufficient in certain states for compliance and for perpetrators of violence against doctors and healthcare establishments. In a situation when we find that the executive is not carrying out its function, then we should for filing appropriate action against the police who are not taking cognizance of such situations. Now, I wish to be mentioning to you that I have been in the issue regarding the central legislation. What clearly emerges is, based on discussions with the central ministry, the likelihood of a central act is not so much. And rightfully or wrongfully so, because here is a specific group of people for whom you are asking for protection against violence. The Home Ministry always has to clear any such laws, and the Home Ministry examines it in the perspective. Tomorrow it will be advocates who will say that there is violence against us, and so on and so forth. So what we perhaps need to do is the following action. In situations where we find inaction of the existing laws, we may consider to file writ petitions in the respective high courts, because a judicial indulgence and a direction from the respective high courts to the police in the form of 1, 2, 3, 4, as exactly happened in 2005 in Jacob Matthews on the issue of criminality against medical professionals. Prior to that, you are fully aware what used to be happening. Subsequent to that, there are very clear directives that no arrest will take place and no FIR shall be lodged. IO shall refer the matter to a board which shall comprise of government doctors, etc., etc. So what I'm trying to bring home the point is, non-compliance of respective state acts, of which there are 19 in number, should be taken up at the respective high courts, and directions issued which have a permanency in nature. The police is using its discretion, and we should not hesitate in doing so. This is what I submit before the.
Thank you so much. We'll wrap up this. I'll summarize it. Basically, there are a number of acts already present in various states. As per Dr. Khatri, chances of a central law are remote. But going by what Dr. Nanda said, that we are going to be in this epidemic situation most probably for another 2 years. So for the participants and for the resident doctors, a glimmer of hope is that, and as Dr. Kapoor said, this is a cognizable offense, and if the police does not act, you have to take action. You have to prosecute the police if needed. And yes, if there are directions from the honorable courts to the police, or if the guidelines, once they are framed, that the police has to do a specified number of steps, the thing of non-implementation of the current ordinance will also go away. So we have to be more proactive, that we are willing to take on the police and the powers that be if there is a non-implementation of the current ordinance.